So makes sense. So it's recording now, Mandy. So yeah.
Okay.
So we're just talking about what you really want to do, and I mentioned about going on retreats, and it's kind of needed in this space. And you said you were going to combine it with your unique set of life experiences, Mandy.
Okay. So Joy, for purpose of, so I wanted to advance both emotional and ecological intelligence. So I'm passionate about empowering people to have good relationships with themselves and other people. Um, but I know that when you take people into a wilderness place, nature is just a incredibly balanced, harmonious place that's been tried and tested over time. And it's a place where people experience way more than we can offer them just one-on-one talking in a online or in a sort of one-to-one counseling session in a lovely room that we work from.
Absolutely.
But
And
there's so many other
can
factors
you
that come
say
into
how
it.
can you tell me how you personally benefited from taking your own medicine, i.e. nature? How's
Ah,
that?
okay.
Yes.
It was a very empowering experience for me because I began this journey unexpectedly. Didn't realize it would go where it did go to, but I had just come out of a divorce and I was confused and hurt and so many different kinds of feelings of regret, of rejection, and I just was needed to find a new me, a new way forward. And I remembered that when I think I remembered this in my heart and in my body more than in my head, that when I was a young child, I always used to go into the bush as a place of play, of healing, of nurturing. So I had this big pull to go back into a wilderness place. So I ended up doing that with a game guide friend of mine, 3 days in Mana Pools and 3 days in Matuza Dono, which are game reserves in Zimbabwe. And as I began to observe animals, particularly initially the wild dogs, I began to realize that they had life insights to show me. And as my journey continued down this pathway, I realized that the specific animals or species I was being drawn to, it was because they would be able to show me something that needed to heal or mature in me. So, for example, it began with the wild dogs because early man and the early wild dogs didn't survive, would not have survived as a species or as a humankind existence unless they nurtured the kinship bonds between us. And in this situation, there was a bond that had just been broken. But prior to that, a really important bond between me and my parents was tested when they sent me to boarding school 2 countries away from where they lived when I was 10 years old. I didn't see them for about 6 months. So I think it was that made me feel like a bit of an outsider in my family, a bit of an outsider in groups. So recognizing that from how the wild dogs survived, behaved, interacted, gave me the right kind of emotional reflection to make some different choices for my life.
Oh, Mandy, that is beautiful. You don't have to, but if you just have to write back, well, just put it into a transcriber and it will just spit it all out for you. That was beautiful. That
Okay,
was
thank you. Well,
beautiful.
thanks
And
for
I think,
inspiring that.
yeah, and I think it's important to notice that some of what we're doing for other people overlaps with some of our own stuff. And that's what makes us quite unique.
Sure, sure.
So you sharing the story about where it came from as the 10-year-old and the unseen pain and suffering that must have caused you, it did come back to you when you actually then were in front of animals showing you about connections and what that meant. So that's beautiful. That's a great story, Mandy, and it's yours. It's lovely.
Thanks, Joy.
Yeah. So
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 you're saying I must share my stories.
well, you have been, I think. I had a quick look at your page, but it's just the way that we share our stories and the way that we kind of set up profile up at the top, so that it's clear perhaps to anybody reading it the first couple of lines who you are and sort of who you're talking to, what problem you solve, and what kind of result you can get. If you can kind of cram that into the top, so it appeals to someone that's scanning. Or then they go to the bottom bit and they start reading the featured section, so you can turn on the creator mode, so you can get these three boxes, and then you can have different information feeding into that. And then, it's
Go
about,
back a step, Joy.
yes,
How do you do
I
the
know,
three boxes? No,
I
I
know.
know you're trying to cram it into 15 minutes.
No,
I'm
no, no.
aware.
That's. I'm cramming
You're
it.
offering
I'm
great
cramming it.
value.
I'm cramming it in because I know you have to go, and I have to let you go
I
because we can
do.
come.
I do.
We can come back another time and talk about this. But
Okay,
I
that'd be
think
great.
I think there's a lot to share. But I think the fact you've got your stories sorted and you know who you are and why you're doing it, that's the most important. All the rest of it is, how do I present it to the world? So go on about personal brand, all that kind of stuff, personal brand. But basically, you are the showpiece of what you do. You're the label on the jar, it's you have to tell us what you do. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing, Mandy. And I love therapists, the ones that have broken away from the norm. I love them because they basically have got such good hearts, um, and they just need to share it in a different way to the way we've been like squished and
Mm,
squashed and confined into this space. We think, hang on, is this really it? But there's a lot of pain in the world, and I think we become filters for it. So
sure, sure. And
yeah,
some of the video footage will see
yeah.
tonight does show some pain.
We'll come back and talk then some more about this, I think. I want you
Okay.
to get prepared for your 6 o'clock thing.
Okay. Thank you,
We'll take it
Joy.
from there.
Thank you
But
for
that
your
I tell you
time. I
that
deeply appreciate it.
oh, my pleasure. And that was just a beautiful story. I'm never going to forget that. It touched me
Oh,
in all
that's
kinds
good.
of ways.
Oh,
It's
sweet.
highs and lows. A good story's got lows and highs. It's the sadness of the there, and then the happiness there. I love it. It's like watching a good movie.
Oh,
So,
sweet. You're so kind.
so I'll
You're
catch you at
so
6.
affirming.
I'm going to go to the link, drop by at 6, and see what you're up
Great.
to.
It'll be
Okay.
amazing to have you
All
on
right,
there.
Mandy. No problem. See you
Thank you,
soon.
Joy.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.